Welcome back to the Journey to the FarLands. All right. Okay, I got a bunch of stuff to get rid of here, so let's get out of this thing and close it off. I'll even leave a torch on it. Okay, and west is actually that away. All right. Okay, let's move onwards to the FarLands, heading west and walking and talking and blathering and rambling and so on and so forth. Anyway, let's see. Let's get the business going here. This is the 141st episode, or 142nd, excuse me. And so far, this is the 432nd Minecraft day since leaving spawn. And another chicken bites the dust. If you can find its hitbox. Anyway, let's see. The size of the world in this evening edition of the Journey to the FarLands is 5,208.61 megabytes and growing. Yeah. And so here we go. Let's see. All right. Oh, that's why it looks so busy. I've got 5 boats in here. Good gravy. All right, I'll pick up a few wool. There we go. Anyway, moving onward and kind of taking it easy. Been kind of in a way, it seems like it's been kind of a long day, but on the other hand, it's not been an excruciatingly busy day. Well, honestly, to be totally honest about it, I have spent a large part of today sleeping. Because, well, you know how it is. You do some long hours for a few days, and then after a while, you just get to the point where you need to do a lot of sleeping in one day to sort of catch up on all that, and that's what I did. I figure, why not? Nobody telling me I can't. It's one of the nice things about living alone. Of course, it has its downsides, that's true, but generally I prefer it. It would be nice if it were possible to have the preference of living alone without the downsides. That would be very good. But you know how that is. You don't usually get that kind of a thing where you get to have the good side and the better side. Anyway, I don't know. I think I'm rambling already. Oh, well. Let's see. Part of why I've spent so much time sleeping is because, as it turned out, my effort to do a live stream today fell apart on account of, well, it needed to be canceled because the internet was not being very or maybe not very net, or whatever. You know, it just wasn't getting a whole lot of positive performance. You know, when YouTube downshifts your video quality to 144p when you're trying to watch a video, you know your internet is really seriously jacked. Yes, trees. Yeah. Anyway, so that kind of ruined my efforts to stream, and I'm hoping that on Friday for the next stream things will be much better, because it's kind of hard to stream when your internet is so bad that you can't get anything even remotely resembling an acceptable, never mind quality image. You just want something that's acceptable. And yeah, that can be so much fun. Oh, hello there. So much better. There we go. Not like anybody's ever going to come walking through here, though, so it's not exactly a safety feature for others following, because nobody will follow. Anyway, yeah. It's a shame, too. I had just gotten started with, in yesterday's stream, with taking a look at Empyrean Galactic Survival, as it has changed quite a bit since the last time I did anything with it. Last time I played, I think Alpha 6 was just getting started. And here they are halfway through Alpha 7 with talk of an eventual Alpha 8. Yeah. So I figured I'd get in there and have a look around and play it through a little bit on live stream and see what I think of how it's changed and so on. And so far, I've been enjoying it, having fun with it. It's a little, it's one of those kind of games where it's a little bit slow getting started, because it's, you know, you start with almost, but not quite nothing, and yeah. Now that is some classic scenery. Oh yeah. Let's grab that for a screenshot. Oh, oops. I'm glad I had the HUD turned off. Yeah. That little graph thing was me accidentally hitting F3 instead of hitting F2 for the screenshot. Yeah. Fortunately, I had the HUD turned off, so it didn't spoiler anything. Yeah. I don't like doing that kind of thing. I usually make it a point to look very carefully before I'm hitting those keys, and I didn't look this time. Well, that'll teach me. Always look before you hit any of those first 4 function keys. Yeah. Otherwise, you might accidentally spoiler something. Let's see. Where did you go, chicken? I saw you. Oh. Hey, we spoilered the chicken. Yeah, that's cool. Always cool to spoiler a chicken. Because spoilering a chicken is a whole lot better than spoiling one. Oh, boy. Yes, I have got a bad case of the rambles. Let's see, what is going on? Well, there is one thing going on. It probably doesn't mean diddly squat to anybody but me, but you may recall that last May I got a hold of Elite Dangerous. It was right at the end of the month. And, oh, shut up, cow. Anyway, I need to find a place for a sleeping platform here real soon. Okay, right here. And we'll do that. We'll come over here and do this. And then do that. Anyway, as you may recall, I got into Elite and I discovered the one aspect of the game that I have found very enjoyable, quite relaxing, and also a thing that treats you to some very cool sights on occasion, and that was exploration. And in June, I did a lot of that then, of course, and I geared up and got a ship specifically set for this. And on the 22nd of June, I took off on a long trip after a series of smaller trips or expeditions or whatever that each one, yeah, well, I started out at first, you know, go for a few hours and so on, and each one of these expeditions got longer, and I mean, in terms of time and in terms of how far I went, how much I discovered, and how much I earned from the trip, and so on. And so on the 22nd of June, I left on Expedition 7. It's still going on. Still out there. And as a matter of fact, the 22nd of January, which is like yesterday, was the 6-month anniversary of leaving on that trip. And I decided, oh, shut up, Cal. Nobody wants to hear you. Ugh. Anyway, I decided to look around and check out some statistics on this trip. Because, you know, it's been 6 months. I wanted to see where I'd been at. But fortunately, I have a utility program. It's a third-party program for Elite. It's called IDI Discovery. Yeah, and it's what it does is it reads the game log and pulls all that information that's in them and puts it out there in a nice, easy-to-read format. And I got to looking, and in the time since last June 22nd, I found that I had been to, let's see, what was it? Just over 1,700 star systems since then. Since I left the human-populated part of space and headed off towards the edge of the galaxy. Now, along the way, I've been using the in-game maps ability for making bookmarks. I've been using that to create waypoints along the way. And the way I do that is I make it a point to make those waypoints as close as I can to 1,000 light years apart. And a few days ago, I passed the 12th such waypoint along the trip. And the distance that I have flown overall because while the waypoints are just 1,000 light years apart, the distance you fly is actually a little more than that, because the stars are not conveniently lined up in a row, all nice and neat for a nice straight trip from one end of from one section of the area to another. You know, so you might fly up and right and down and left and inside and outside and all over the place until you finally end up at the place where you've plotted your route to for that 1,000 light years. And so the amount of distance that I had actually flown in all that time is something over 15,000 light years. That's quite a bit. Yeah, that surprised me that it had been that far. 15,000 light years to get to a point where my straight line distance, or waypoint to waypoint distance, is a grand total of about a little over 12,000. So there's a lot of extra travel in there, it would seem. But it's been worthwhile. There's been a number of cool sights and whatnot. And along the way, of course, when I come into a new star system, I scan every star, planet, and moon in that system before moving on to the next one, where I will do it all again. An incredibly repetitive thing, some would say. And yes, it is repetitive, but it's not a bad kind of repetitive. It's very relaxing. You know, I know a lot of people would consider something like that to be incredibly boring. I find it relaxing. It's a good excuse to do something that's enjoyable, relaxing, and just a zero stress kind of thing. Because, especially with the exploration angle that I'm taking in this game, I'm far enough out away from anything that I would be very surprised if I ever run into another player out there. Not this far from everything else. And while that seems like it's a long ways, it's actually not. Because for all that I have been traveling for, well, 6 months, 15,000 light years of flight distance, or 12,000 of somewhat straighter distance going from waypoint to waypoint, for all of that, I am maybe about almost a third of the way towards the edge of the galaxy. And the plan that I had for this trip was to go to the edge, and then at the edge, circumnavigate, flying around the galaxy the long way. That is such a satisfying sound, I gotta tell you. Few sounds in Minecraft are so satisfying as the squawk of a dying chicken. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, anyway. Like I said, this whole thing with Elite is, worth it. The whole thing in Elite is, I'm quite sure, not really of a whole lot of interest to many people. But it's something that I have very much enjoyed doing, and I don't regret 1 cent of that purchase that I saved up for so long to make. And not only that, but coming up sometime in the next few months, there is a new update going to come out that is supposed to update a whole lot of things, And one of the things it is supposed to update is the appearance of planets and whatnot, and make things look better, more varied, more realistic-ish, and so on. Because for all that planets and moons look fairly different, for the most part, from out in space, when you land on one, they are almost all beige. And I'm not exactly sure why that happened. As I understood, I did a little bit of reading about it. Apparently, it happened a year or two ago in some update or another. And since then, that's the way things have looked. And apparently this new update, it's called Beyond, is supposed to come out sometime in the next few months. I understand a beta is being released soon. I don't think I'm going to be messing with the beta. I want to continue my progress in the live game, as it were. And besides which, playing the beta is no doubt going to mean doing a huge download. And, well, with my internet, I try to avoid huge downloads for the most part. Going around. But it's supposed... I've seen some screenshots that the developers have released about how planets and such are going to look after that update, and it does look a lot better. There's a lot more variety, and you don't have the problem of everything being beige, which is really kind of weird. But there will be a lot more variety in appearance, and I think some changes in terrain generation. I'm not 100% sure about that part. But anyway, it's supposed to look a whole lot better, and I am looking forward to that update. It's not that I do a whole lot of landings, because the nature of what I'm doing kind of makes them pointless for the most part. Although there are occasionally reasons to land. One reason is that, well, like for example, the idea of synthesizing refills for a repair module that does repairs on damaged things if you take damage along the way, which can happen. Get too close to a star and get a little too hot. Like, for example, this one time I warped into a new system and I found myself in a rather warm situation between two rather large red stars. Yeah. Now, I did have the sense not to fly between them, but it kind of put me at a point where it was very close to being right between them. And it made for a very cool screenshot, as you can see. But it would definitely be hot times in the old town tonight if you flew between those things. They were very close together, and flying between them would probably cook you. And almost certainly there would have been thermal damage to the ship, and this would necessitate firing up that automatic field maintenance unit and using some of its charges to repair the ship. And of course, in order to get more of those repair charges, is the reason for the... Shut up. You too. All of yous. Jeez. And here's what I think of you. I don't even want your nasty leather. It's probably disease-ridden anyway. Anyway. So one of the reasons I had for landing was to drive around in my Surface Recon vehicle, which is a sort of cool-looking six-wheeled buggy that has a couple of rockets mounted on the sides that allow it to make some short-distance jumps. And it is a very thoroughly capable all-terrain vehicle. And drive that thing around and use its scanners and whatnot to find these materials that you can use to synthesize things. And you kill a few hours doing that. And so I would land occasionally to look for things like that. And another reason that I would land occasionally is because just simply to keep in practice. You know, it just kind of makes sense to me to stay in practice at landing so that at whatever point I decide that I actually need to, I don't have the problem of being too far out of practice to do it safely. Because I would really hate to have any kind of a nasty problem like destroyed ship, which would cost me all of the exploration data that I have acquired so far, which is quite a bit, because the statistics that I was looking at, one of the things it tracks is how many things you have scanned. And I am carrying the data from some 19,800 and some odd scans. That's a lot. I mean, it surprised me that I had done that many. That's definitely a lot of scanning. And this is only for just the first 6 months of the trip. And I'm only about a third of the way out towards the edge of the galaxy. I figure that I've probably got about another 22 of these 1,000 light year waypoints. At least 22 more of them before I decide that I am sufficiently out towards the edge to start navigating around. And so probably at least another 6 to 8 months before I get out to the edge, and possibly another year or 2 or possibly 3 to go around, because I fly in a very I am in no hurry kind of way. You know, I'm not always trying to go as far and as fast as I can. I'm just going with the idea that I've got no particular place to go and I've got all day to get there, you know? So I take my time and I just do my thing at a pace that I find acceptable. And yeah, and if this turns into a 5-year mission, that's cool. That would be perfectly fine. I don't know, maybe sometime down the line I may change my mind and decide to hightail it back to populated space and get into some other kind of activity. There are many activities in that game. You could become a bounty hunter, trader, You could sell slaves. You could engage in trading rare materials, or become a pirate, or whatever. Any number of things, and so on. Let's see. What? Yeah, I need to start thinking about digging in somewhere. And it looks like this is going to be a good spot. Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much what all's going on right now. I know I've been rattling about Elite most of this video, but it's a thing that I enjoy. I have fun with it. I enjoy the fact that I can relax and have a zero stress time with it. And I know I'm getting something done that not a whole lot of people who play the game do. I mean, there's probably a good bunch that do, but I'm pretty sure it's not the majority. All right, let's throw that away now and beat the Christmas rush. All right. Okay, let's see here. Get this down here. I'm going to go with just 2 more boats. 4 will be quite sufficient. Three more beds. And how about a few more torches? I should probably keep an eye out for what is it? Coal. Yeah. Okay, well, there we go. Another day and another bit of progress on the way to the FarLands. Be sure to stop by TinFoilChef.com, where you can donate to Child's Play charity and help support the goal and get us closer to reaching that goal so that we can do another Journey to the FarLands live stream of F3ness. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my rambling. Take it easy. I am out of here.
Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two.